Zara walked through the bustling streets of Dar es Salaam like a queen. At 24, her curves were a masterpiece, draped in silk that whispered against her skin. She knew every eye was on her. Beside her walked Michael, a humble architect who had loved her since they were 18. For 6 years, he provided stability and warmth, but his modest salary couldn't fund the designer dreams dancing in Zara's head. She craved the shimmering lights of the peninsula, not the quiet life Michael offered. Her beauty was a currency she was itching to spend. One humid evening, while sipping cocktails at a rooftop bar overlooking the Indian Ocean, she saw him. Andrew. He moved with the practiced ease of a man who owned the skyline. His suit cost more than Michael's annual rent. When their eyes met, Zara felt a spark of pure, unadulterated greed. She adjusted her dress, ensuring her silhouette was unmistakable. Andrew smiled, a predatory glint in his eyes that she mistook for admiration. "You are far too beautiful for this place," Andrew whispered, joining her table. Zara glanced at Michael, who was busy arguing with the waiter over a small pricing error on the bill. The contrast was painful. In that moment, the 6 years of shared laughter and secret dreams felt like a heavy anchor. She wanted to fly. She wanted the gold. She decided then that Michael was a relic of her past, a boy holding back a goddess destined for the world's most luxurious stages. Breaking Michael's heart was easier than Zara expected, mostly because she refused to look him in the eye. They stood in their small apartment in Sinza, the smell of Michael's home-cooked pilau still lingering in the air. "I deserve more, Michael," she said, packing her designer suitcases. "I am young, beautiful, and the world is waiting for me. You can only offer me a bicycle life when I belong in a Ferrari." Michael stood frozen, his hands trembling. 6 years, Zara. We built a foundation. I was just about to tell you." "Save it," she snapped, her voice pulled as a highland breeze. "Andrew can give me the life I was born for. He sees my worth. He sees the woman who deserves diamonds, not just silver-plated promises." Michael didn't beg. He simply sat on the edge of their bed, the very bed where they had whispered about their future children just nights before. "Greed is a hungry ghost, Zara. It will eat everything you are until there is nothing left but the clothes you wear." She laughed, a sharp, melodic sound, and walked out the door without a second glance. Outside, Andrew's black Mercedes G-Wagon was idling, its engine a low, powerful growl that drowned out the sound of Michael's quiet sobs. As she climbed into the leather interior, the scent of expensive cologne and success filled her lungs. She felt reborn, finally stepping into the golden light she believed she had earned. Life with Andrew was a whirlwind of excess. They spent weekends in Zanzibar, staying in underwater rooms where the turquoise water glowed with neon fish. Zara's Instagram feed became a catalog of luxury: private jets, gold-flecked desserts, and dresses that cost more than a village school. She flaunted her body, posing on white sands, relishing the millions of lakes that validated her choice. Andrew was the perfect accessory: tall, wealthy, and seemingly devoted. However, the silence between the parties began to grow. Andrew didn't talk about his childhood, his dreams, or his fears. When she tried to share her thoughts, he would simply hand her a credit card. "Go buy something shiny, Zara," he'd say, never looking up from his phone. "Your beauty is your job. Don't ruin it with deep thoughts." She ignored the sting, focusing instead on the weight of the heavy gold bangles on her wrists. She was the most envied woman in Tanzania. She walked through the shoppers' plaza with her head held high, ignoring the whispers of those who knew she had traded love for a price tag. One night, she found a drawer full of burner phones in his office. When she questioned him, his face transformed into a cold indifference. "Don't get curious, Zara. You are here to look good on my arm, not to audit my life. Remember who pays for the silk on your back. The chill in the room had nothing to do with the air conditioning. The glamour began to feel like a costume that was too tight. Andrew started disappearing for days, leaving Zara alone in the sprawling mansion in Misaki. She would wander through the marble halls, her reflection in the floor-to-ceiling mirrors mocking her. She was thinner now, the stress of maintaining perfection taking its toll. She tried to call Michael once, in a moment of crushing loneliness. The line was disconnected. A mutual friend told her Michael had left the city, vanished into the countryside to heal. "He's doing well, though," the friend added pointedly. "He finally finished that big project he was working on. He's changed." Zara pushed the thought away. She had Andrew. She had the mansion. But the mansion felt like a mausoleum. Andrew returned one evening with a group of boisterous men. They looked at Zara not as a partner, but as a piece of high-end furniture. "Show them the dress I bought you, Zara," Andrew commanded, his voice slurred with whiskey. She stood there, twirling for men who laughed and made lewd comments about her curves. She felt a wave of nausea. This wasn't the respect she had envisioned. She was a trophy, a status symbol to be brandished and then tucked away. That night, she found a photograph in Andrew's jacket. It was a wedding announcement from a London newspaper. Andrew was engaged to the daughter of a Kenyan oil tycoon. The date was only 3 weeks away. When Zara confronted Andrew, she expected a denial, perhaps even an apology. Instead, he laughed, a dry, rattling sound that echoed off the high ceilings. He poured himself a drink, not even bothering to look at her tear-streaked face. "Zara, darling, did you honestly think this was forever?" he asked, his tone dripping with condescension. "You are a beautiful distraction, a high-maintenance toy. I needed someone stunning for the season, and you fit the bill perfectly. But my family requires a certain pedigree for a wife, someone with more than just a pretty face and a hunger for my wallet." Zara felt as though the floor had vanished. "I gave up 6 years for you. I left a man who truly loved me." "That was your choice, not mine," Andrew shrugged, setting his glass down. "You sold yourself for the highest bid, and I was the buyer. But the lease is up. My fiancé arrives tomorrow. I've already had your things packed. They are in the hallway." She looked toward the door. Her designer bags, once the symbols of her victory, now looked like trash waiting to be collected. "Where am I supposed to go?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "Back to the streets you came from, I suppose," Andrew said, turning his back to her. "Or find another millionaire. Though I hear the market for 24-year-old social climbers is quite saturated this time of year in Dar." Zara spent the night in a cheap motel, the neon sign flickering outside her window. She felt hollow. In the morning, she opened the local newspaper to look for work, but a headline on the business page caught her eye. "Local architect wins International Design Award, firm valued at millions." There was a picture of Michael. He looked different, older, more confident, dressed in a sharp, understated suit. Beside him was a woman with a gentle smile holding his hand. The article explained that Michael had been working on a revolutionary sustainable housing project for years. The week Zara left him, he had received the initial funding that turned his small firm into a global powerhouse. He was now one of the most respected and wealthiest men in East Africa. The irony was a physical blow. The wealth she had chased by betraying him had been right in front of her, tied to the man who actually cared for her soul. Michael hadn't told her because he wanted to surprise her with a ring and a home they owned together. He wanted to ensure she loved him for him, not the money. Zara clutched the paper, her tears blurring Michael's successful face. She had traded a diamond in the rough for a piece of glass that looked like a gem. She had prioritized the Ferrari life over the person who would have built her a kingdom. She was the architect of her own ruin. Desperation drove her to Michael's new office. a stunning glass building in the heart of the city. She wore her best remaining dress, trying to summon the confidence of the girl she used to be, but her eyes were sunken and her spirit was frayed. The receptionist looked at her with pity. "He's in a meeting, miss, but you can wait." Hours passed. Finally, the mahogany doors opened. Michael walked out laughing with his colleagues. When he saw Zara, he stopped. The laughter died, replaced by a profound, quiet sadness. He didn't look angry. He looked like he was looking at a stranger. "Michael," she choked out, stepping forward, "I made a mistake, a horrible, greedy mistake. I see now that everything I wanted was always with you. Please, can we just talk?" Michael stayed where he was. The woman from the newspaper, his wife, stepped out behind him. She looked at Zara not with malice, but with genuine sympathy. "Zara," Michael said, his voice steady and calm, "I forgave you a long time ago, but the woman I loved died the day she walked out that door for a G-Wagon. I used to think you were my world, but you taught me that I was just a stepping stone for you. I found someone who loves the man, not the bank account. I wish you peace, but there is nothing left for you here." He turned away, his hand resting protectively on his wife's back. Zara stood on the shore of the Indian Ocean as the sun began to set, casting long, bloody shadows across the sand. She was back where it all started, but everything was different. Her designer clothes were stained with salt and regret. The curvy body she had once used as a weapon felt like a burden, a reminder of the vanity that had blinded her. She watched the expensive cars drive toward the Peninsula, the lights of the luxury hotels twinkling like taunting stars. Somewhere in that city, Michael was sitting down to dinner with a woman who cherished him. Somewhere else, Andrew was celebrating his union with a woman of pedigree, having already forgotten Zara's name. She reached into her pocket and found a small silver ring Michael had given her in their second year. She had replaced it with Andrew's gold, but she had kept it hidden in a corner of her purse. It was worth almost nothing in shillings, yet it was the most valuable thing she had ever owned. She threw the ring into the dark waves, watching it disappear forever. She had sought the world and lost her soul. She was 24, beautiful, and utterly alone in a country that felt like a graveyard of her own making. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of rain and distant, happy laughter. Zara bowed her head, the weight of her greed finally crushing her into the Tanzanian dust.